think I should start off by saying that I must apologize for the delay coming here. And I now understand why we need to get the rail right. But I didn't expect the traffic to be so horrendous. And I didn't come from work today, so it was quite different. So I went to Goodwood to the Traffic Management and Control Center for a meeting. And I thought by leaving there about 45-50 minutes early, it should be a good time to get here. And not realize that on the M5, at the entrance to the M5 from the N1, it was like a 5 kilometers per hour or less traveling. So it really quite so. I think my talk today will be a little bit long, and I apologize for that up front. But at the end, I'm quite happy to take any questions on rail. It doesn't matter what question, whether it's in the presentation or not. I'll answer it to the best of my knowledge, and even if it's issues outside rail operations, you want to talk about policy issues and that sort of thing, I have no problem with it. So let's just run through some quickly. So just some fact sheets very quickly, just to tell you that we operate over 6 municipalities. We cover about 75% of the residential area of Cape Town, if you take Cape Town's policy of being within 10 kilometers from the river line. And maybe that little story over there comes back to the nice city, and people keep on saying that the nice city up the west coast was a political decision. No, it was not a political decision. And Ron Hayden is here, I see someone from CNN. It's really a decision that we took as officials at that time, because there was no rail operation in that area. And if you look at the old city, the entire city, except for Hart Bay and the deep south, up the west coast there was no railway line, so it was just golden arrows with the bus service at that time. So it definitely wasn't for political reasons that happened, and rail covers a wide extent. And if you look at the rail extension, except for Hart Bay and the deep south, there is plans to cover up to Atlantis as well. So that's some of the implications, and you will find that when I was in the city, the market share for rail was close on to just about 60%, 58%. In recent times, because of the poor service of metro rail, that's dropped quite substantially. Especially people who are traveling from the southern suburbs, you'll notice a sudden increase in traffic because of the poor service that we have from metro rail. We're also part of the International Benchmarking Group, which I'm very much involved in that. So we have a lot of shared knowledge, and when people think that Cape Town is the only city in the modern world that has its problems, you must think again. If you go to San Francisco, you'll probably find in the BART system you have a similar type of thing as well. And I can talk to you about the infrastructure challenges if you want to. Some of the further statistics, one big one that I'd like to point out is that we have 489 kilometers of rail track. That's essentially from here to North West. To control that from a security point is a near impossible task if you're running an open system. The rest is definitely to see. The current challenges that we face, and this is not quite current, probably the last 5 or 6 years challenge. Our operating environment is really a mess. I mentioned the open system. That open system leads to invasion of informal dwellers, but also people walking across the tracks. And when you walk across the track and somebody hits, when you get hit by a train, that train stops, and the police investigation is no different to what you see on the road. The car is not allowed to move unless the police come down there, take photographs, do all whatever the preliminary investigation, and 2 hours later then they release the train. The only difference between the train and the road is that if you've got one line, there's no other train to go by. So that's a big issue on the operating environment. Train set availability and performance. Our rolling stock on average is about 45 to 50 years old, even though you may see some good-looking trains, and I mean for those people who are traveling in the train, you'll find some of the geo coaches that come back looks like brand new, but essentially it's a very old train with an improved chassis. That's all it is, and it costs a fortune to do it. Infrastructure, the sad news is that we haven't procured rail in large consignments since 2009. And it's a lot to do with supply chain management practice, but also the way the company institutes supply chain management policy, and I think the newspapers know that. I don't want to go through that. But also with the antiquated system, we have a challenge. And I think that it's a token to, I think it's a real credit to the engineers in PRASA, in the Western Cape, to keep a system that's running, that has got very little maintenance, hardly any variable maintenance. We are forced to introduce speed restrictions because of the conditions of our turnups, and still to keep this train running safely is really a miracle, irrespective of the delay. I tell people this all the time, I'd rather get delayed by 1 hour than not arrive at my destination at all. So it's a very important point, and yet people keep on harping on the issue of delay. Yes, it is a problem, it's a big issue. We as PRASA are supposed to respond to it, together with government and the affected authorities. Our train service is poor, if not shocking, in recent times, and if you compare us to any other city in the world, our on-time performance is probably one of the worst when you're looking at one of the cities of the world today. Vandalism is unprecedented. In fact, quite frankly, I don't think any other country in the world, probably other than the third world countries, experience vandalism like what we have. And what's interesting is that when the Japanese came to see us here in Cape Town, they couldn't believe that we could run the system. If they came here, they said they wouldn't run the system. It's in such a terrible state, but this will be going. The thing that we can be directly accountable in terms of operating challenges are communications. It is generally bad. And it's not an excuse. I wouldn't want to give an excuse for it. But by and large, the priority is focus on running the train rather than communicating. And that's our weakness. It's our problem. And we acknowledge that. Crime incidents, I will show you some slides on that as well and give you an indication. And then the interventions that we need from other authorities sometimes is slow in coming. And there's always an apportioned blame. Just today I was coming back from a meeting, and it has to do with the level crossing elimination program in Moscow Road. The infamous accident that took place on the 27th of April. And the issues about, we need to split the costs, this organization, to this and this, etc. And I indicated to them, all the money comes from the same pot, it comes from the National Treasury. If you want to, you put an application to the Department of Transport, get the money, let one authority do it. If you're going to get 3 authorities to contribute, you need to get an agreement, you need to get signed. By the time it takes that, it'll probably be a year later and you wouldn't get the sign-off you need. Can everybody hear me? I see some hands around the ears and whatever. Okay, on-time performance, you will see the situation. Generally, in good railway systems, the worst case in a good railway system is around about 90%, the best case is closer to 100% on-time performance. Now, one of the problems that we have as well is the way we measure on-time performance is different to the others. And the reason is that is when we have a train out of service, we don't amend the timetable. In theory, we cannot amend the timetable fast enough because we still use manual scheduling system. If you take it to the scheduling department to do it, they'll do it for 6 months. After 6 months, you come back and do the different changes, another train, etc. So the way we measure delays is also not correct when compared to international companies. What they do is, if the train is out of action or you've got a enforced speed restriction, and over the 24-hour period you drop it, you change the timetable, you allow the times to go through. So if a journey took you 50 minutes, they will say now it'll take you 55 minutes, and they will consider that to be on time. We don't. So that's the only big change in terms of on-time performance. The train set information, this is quite interesting. We're supposed to run 88 train sets. This is what you see on the blue line on top. And we have the green line, or the light green line, tells us that's our train set availability. But that's not the full story. Because we have challenges with our coach, we run about 50% of them on short train configuration. In other words, if the coaches are meant to be a 10-car set coach train set, we could run anything from 8 to 7. So you can understand the overcrowding that comes with it. And that's not because we want to, but we are forced to because of the challenges we have with our rolling stock. Train punctuality. This is an interesting graph. It tells you how vandalism, back in 2015, we were getting closer onto our targeted 82%. Some instances we were exceeding that, sometimes below that, based on the formula that I indicated to you on punctuality. But since vandalism escalated. In fact, the huge burn of train started in October 2015. If I showed you a graph that indicates between July 2015 to October 2015, you will see a steady upward climb towards getting the system right. When vandalism creeped in, the entire system went destroyed. Now, one of the biggest reasons with vandalism is that in gang-invested communities, they suddenly realized that in the last couple of years, it's easy money. They sell copper, or this country sells copper overseas at 70 rand a kilo, per kilogram. They probably get one of the guys to go out, cut the cable, etc., and give them 10 rand a kilogram or whatever it is. And they've got what's called bucket shops in those communities. They do this thing to make a lot of money. If you go down to Cape Town Harbour, you'll find a lot of copper being exported, although we don't manufacture copper here. So that became quite intense. It's not a unique problem. It's not a problem unique to PRASA. The city is affected by the same thing. Recently, the city had cable theft. On the new plant, they were trying to do groundwater, to extract groundwater from the Mitchell's plant. So it's becoming quite a problem, and the government obviously introduced different acts and made certain kind of crime against, copper theft or the non-ferrous metal theft. The penalty became quite serious. But you can see how it's come down. And this graph just illustrates that to you. Similarly with train sets cancellations. Now, with the burning of trains, etc., and the challenges we have, and we do, for some of the people that work in the rail environment or know about the rail environment, we do regular maintenance of shedding, liner, etc. But we do it a lot more frequent than any other first world country in the world. They would probably do shedding after a year, we do it after every 1 month to 6 weeks because of the state of our train. Similarly with wheels. Now we have tires on the wheels of trains. We replace them after roughly about 3 or 4 months because of the condition of our infrastructure. If you go internationally, you find the new trains, after 2 years you don't even touch it. So that's a big difference in exactly how we operate. So that gives you some indication of that. So this is just a way to give you some sort of indication of the different time periods. And you can compare from year to year how we've been coming down. Another graph, similarly to the train cancellation. Same scenario, same kind of setup. And we have a commuter experience. What we've done is we've got a formula that we put delays and cancellations, etc. into it, and it relates to commuter experience. And that covers delays, cancellation, and other factors. So you can see how it's come down as well. And this is probably a very interesting slide because it shows you which departments are the ones that are affected with delays. And if you look at signals, signals is to do with vandalism more than anything else, because when it's vandalized, for the first 24 hours it's with protection services, which is vandalism. Thereafter, if it takes 6 months to repair, it falls under signals. Now, some of the equipment we've got is so old that you cannot just buy them off the shelf. It's going to be custom. And I'll give you some good news stories later on about how we're addressing some of this in the medium to long term. So you can see, if you look at it, it's vandalism, signals, and rolling stock, which relate to vandalism as well. All of them are very much interrelated. Yes, we are at fault because some of our systems require maintenance. We don't do maintenance fast enough. But by and large, the biggest, the blame should lie with vandalism and crime. Cancellation is pretty obvious again, and you can see the same departments are affected. Train operations, they get involved with it because when the train gets delayed, it all depends on what they can do from an operations point of view. So this is why you see cancellation being affected with that. Now, that little triangle that you see there, just to point out, now that's what we call the Montague split. Now that split is quite an important split because if something goes wrong there, it affects the entire Mitchell's Plain Khayelitsha line. All the trains get affected, so when the bulk of the commuters coming in, it has a problem. So when that stops, the entire system stops. So I think I've got some slides later which show you some pictures. So what we've done is we focus on that area. I'll just explain to you later on what we've done, but basically this is very quickly. We took a strategic decision, and I think we are like years later to go out and start closing off the system. In other words, we're going to put huge concrete walls to block off the system. We're starting with the critical area, which is the area in the Montague split. And the reason for the Montague split is because of the gangsterism that invades. I can tell you lots of stories where our technicians cannot get worked up. When they get approached, guys come with 2 guns to chase them away. They go out and literally dig in front of the guys, the cables up. I'll show you some of those pictures as well. So we are going ahead, and the good news is that we're quite an advanced stage in the procurement process. We're waiting for security clearance of 8 different contracts for under 10 million rands of walling for that critical section. So that's what we're doing. Some pictures. The one on the top left-hand side is an informal settlement with wet waste, etc. It became a huge problem. We couldn't run trains, all these things. We then put up this wall. This wall looks like an ordinary wall, but it's quite a big wall. If you look at the truck lifting up those precast beams, those precast concrete slabs are 3 meters long. And the height of the wall is 3.2 meters. We went down a further 1 meter underneath to prevent people from digging underneath to come across. So we've done one section of it which worked, and we're using the same concept to the walling project that we're doing. And for scale, you can see the gentleman that's walking next to the wall, and it gives you some indication of the scale. Obviously, it's out of perspective, but it gives you some sort of feel of it. This is Montague. This is what criminal activities and vandalism leads to. It's organized, it's going out, digging trenches, going out and taking out every possible bit of copper cable. And this is what's actually happening. And when this happens, it affects the signal. If you look at the signal relay room that we have on top, that's completely destroyed. That was not the only one. That was one of the reasons why the central line was closed off from January to March. One section of the line, we went out and manually went out and started from scratch to build all these different systems, including putting the wires together. It was done in a house, and we still run manual occupation. Manual occupation, for those of you who don't know, it means the train doesn't run on signal. It's a very old-fashioned system. When you stop the train, you check with the control center, you phone through, you say there's no train in this section, you get 3-4 time confirmation. The train departs, that's the only train in that section. Train reaches the other end of the manual authorization, it phones back, it stops, phones back and says, I'm clear, it goes through. Now you can see the extent of delays. Now that's part of the safety regime that we have to put in. We can't just run the trains. We will have major accidents. So this is the type of problem we're faced with. Some of the other issues, you can see we even put down, even the boxes, the steel cages that we've designed and put through, gets taken out, lifted up, pushed up. How they do it, I don't know, but they take it out and then they go up underneath and look at the signal equipment, whether it's a track box or track circuits, etc. And so some of these pictures you have a look, and you can see the extent to which vandalism prevails. It's very pervasive. So this is statistics that we've got here, so it gives you some sort of indication. You can see it, and I'm not going to go into detail. This is just a measure of vandalism against our assets. Theft that we have, and I'm just going to run through the slide because there's quite a few of them, but these are all statistics. I think for Maria, I think you'll find this useful for your students as well. And this is open to anybody. I didn't have a problem distributing this presentation to anybody who wants it. Vandalism in general, this is outside the assets itself. Burglaries, we do have burglaries as well, as you would appreciate, with all this crime, etc. Arson. And this don't go back as far as 2015, but since 2015, I think we've lost 110 coaches, I think, in total. So if you look at the amount of coaches, and if you look at roughly a 10-coach train, you can see the amount of train sets we've lost. Theft in general, the arrests, yes, we do make some arrests, but one of the biggest problems is prosecution. And SAPs, sometimes they want more information, but we're trying to deal with them directly, and we have a challenge. It's not the old railway police system that we had in the past. It's a whole lot of arrangements, and you will know even within government departments, it's still a challenge to get that right. Fire damage to coaches, I think I've indicated this to you, and you can see the amount. I think if you add it up, you'll probably come to that amount. And coaches, and this is the stubble. We get coaches coming in, we repair them, we put them back, but we don't seem to be going up. We seem to be coming down. That means the inflow is greater than the outflow. So this gives you some indication of the inflow and outflow of all the coaches that we've done repaired. But that's a doom story. It's a doom and gloom story. We have started a process of recovery, but there's a whole lot of other factors that are associated with it. It's not as simple as saying that we've got a turnaround plan and we can just go back and recover the service. It's not as easy as that because there's a whole lot of other factors, and there's also internal issues within PRASA that are even complicated. It's like central procurement processes. It's with the benefit of economy of scale. The region gets limited delegation, you only do so much. And then if something happens to the procurement process at the national level, we all suffer. And there's been, if I had to say to people, one of the biggest problems within PRASA is the inability to do efficient procurement. That's really the biggest problem within PRASA. And I don't think, maybe I should say that. I want to say something else. But there's a whole lot of issues that's affected it. So the region, in fact, suffers. And I really feel sorry for the regional manager because the regional manager doesn't have full control over security. He doesn't have full control over engineering. These are the three departments that really start with infrastructure. Three departments that are key to effectively turn around. And they report to, well, in a dotted line to the corporate office, or to the national office, and for administrative reasons to the region. So there's challenges there as well, but we're working it out. So what we're going to do, we're going to start looking at how we stabilize the business first, and we need to recover the rolling stock, infrastructure, particular assets. These are very obvious things after we check when we're talking to you about all these issues. So we started to look at how we stabilize the intervention. That means, and I know I've put that little picture on the right-hand side there, it's not meant to be there, but it illustrates the point. That stabilization that we have, that we need to look at stabilization to intervene, to stop further deterioration. We managed to get to that point at this stage. We're not receding anymore. We are more or less stable, but it's at a very low base at this stage. So we want to do it incrementally. We've started to look at recovery. There's a whole lot of stuff I mentioned to you just now what we're doing. How are we going to go about this thing in the next year, maybe 18 months, 24 months probably, because it's not going to be a quick recovery process. And then I'll demonstrate to you how, bringing to the future, how PRASA will be a new organization altogether. It wouldn't be the train service that you have seen today, and we've got evidence of that. So as I was saying to you earlier on, we've got a program, each of the departments are committed. I'm not going to read this whole thing to you at the time, but it tells you how we're going to do them. And a lot of them are done in-house, and we have what's called a general overall program, which we tend to give to the contractors. Unfortunately, we have limited contractors that can work on these, on reconstructing or repairing these trains as well. The general overall, when you get in, it takes time. You got to send the train, the coach through, they take up the body, they put things in it, put all the new stuff and bring it back. Now, unfortunate part of that is sometimes as soon as it comes back, I don't know whether this is internal, external, but word gets around very quickly, and before that particular coach gets into service, it's vandalized. So there's challenges and problems, but we do have a plan. It's going into the future, so it's the same thing. In terms of infrastructure, there's a whole lot of things. I think I'll talk to you about the resignaling program a bit later, but we're starting to look at changing the signaling systems. We are moving away from copper to minimize copper as far as possible. We went out on contracts to look at to convert copper to fiber, and we can only do that with the communication system, including the signaling system. Obviously, the OHT you can't do it, and believe it or not, these guys have got the audacity of going out and cutting off the overhead cables, which has got 32,000 kilowatts of power going through. Some of them got fried in the process. I'm just sorry about my choice of words, but it's crazy what they do. In fact, in one instance, when Central was shut down, the guys thought that the lines were on, got no power, and they started to go up, and then boom. It's that kind of thing. And some of them take a check, because I think when they're in the drugged state, the lure to get the next fix becomes more important than worrying about the safety. So these are the challenges we have. Critical spares, we started to look at procurement process to see how we can get our critical spares procured. We don't have enough stock. As soon as we put them in, it gets used up. And there's a whole, again, it comes back to the procurement process. So what we've done is in the region, we started to go against some of the national directives And anything under 10 billion rands, we are now attempting to do them even in piecemeal because of the urgency that we need to deal with these things. I think signals, a good example of signals, the problem that we had is, I think some of you or most of you would know, at a time when we had a level crossing accident at Albertine Road, and the entire system was dead. What really happened is, it was a very unusual situation. The boom was in upright position, and the truck came through, hit the boom was on the other end, it touched the 33 kilovolt wire, earthed it, it fried up about 5 or 6 relay rooms, so from Retreat all the way to Fisher, gone. We had to start from scratch to change the level crossings, couldn't be put in, the signaling system couldn't be put in. I think it took us about 10 months to get that right. And around about towards the end of last year, we had it sorted out. So it almost took almost a year, 10 months, a year. So, in terms of track, believe it or not, we don't have our own machines to do ballast tapping, to do screening, and all those very basic functions. We depend on TFR. TFR gets first preference, and we've got to go through a procurement process. And again, between departments like ESCOM, etc., we don't pay, they don't supply. So it's a bit of a catch-22, but we go into the motions, and it has to do with from where it comes from. So to try and turn this thing around overnight is almost impossible. And then with our leadership changing, we've had 5 group CEOs in the last, since 2015. We had 3 ministers, and I think we've had 4 boards to go through the process. With that kind of instability in leadership, you cannot get the direction you're looking for, no matter how urgent it is. And sometimes the corporate folks focus on the wrong thing. But that's my personal life. And I think vandal proofing of equipment, you will see in one of the cages, we are kind of accelerating that kind of action. On vandalism and theft, when we went back to Central, we had a couple of things that we need to do. I think I'll look at the slide later. We need to make sure that, first of all, the drivers refuse to go there after the death of one of the train drivers, as well as the security guard who shot dead for his gun over there. So if you put armed security there, you've got to be numbers. You cannot put few people, otherwise that person's life is at stake. They literally come in, shoot you, and take your gun and go away. So it's a terrible situation. So what we've done is we went out and we've got drones working over there, and for those of you that know about aviation, you know that it will be quite a problem because it's on the flight path to the airport. So we got permission for that, and that took us some time. And that permission, we are now allowed to do nighttime drone operations over there. So we use infrareds, and we've had, so far it was introduced in the middle of March. We've apprehended 6 culprits with response units, etc. So on top of that, and that's starting to work very well, in fact. Then we've had something that's called red ants, which I know it's not the red ant that you know of, but this red ant is there, the Montague split. It's armored vehicles with armed response. So it's a very intense operation. And ever since we put that in Montague in the middle of March, we had no incidents at all. And then to fast track the process of prosecution, we've appointed a company called CPI. Don't ask me what it stands for. But this company, they look at the arrests, they look at prosecutions, and they look at forensic investigations. So now at the moment they've also apprehended about 100 of people since March. 63 are in court. So they have 63 cases in court. So we expected by doing this, it will send clear messages that we are serious about this thing, and we're hoping to find a substantial job. That's over and above the walling that we do. And the walling for us is very important. I'll talk to you about the modernization program later. So that, and then we've had dealing with the city. We got into partnership with the city where, together with the city, province, and ourselves, we're all contributing money to have 100 employed enforcement officers in addition to what we've got. So there are a lot of things on that, and you can see the rest of the stuff that we do with the police. Stakeholders, I'll skip this, but this is all the stakeholder engagements that we have. And then we forget the communications, and then the modernization. So I've dealt with the challenges, I've dealt with the short-term interventions, and now I'm dealing with the medium to long-term. We're going to be, in the modernization, we're looking at building new depots, not just one, many. We're looking at the rolling stock. Rolling stock, I'm not sure if I'm going to start, but I'll tell you about rolling stock, what we're doing. Station modernization, infrastructure upgrade, and the National Resettlement Program. It started around about 2014-15, and we've managed to secure 170 billion rands from government, roughly at about 14 billion rands per annum. That's our capital program that we get. Then